new religion.
It certainly is, you know, and but it's going, like, I mean, every graph we look at on debt or world poverty or food prices in third world conditions and all that sort of thing. They're all these hockey stick graphs, and they're all just like, okay, yep, 2008, like as soon as we've got hit to 2000s, it's sort of like the 1% up the top have just tightened the screws. You know, it's probably been since about 1970, but like they've just tightened the screws and they've just stopped paying people a lot of money, and they just hoarding. They're just hoarding massive amounts of cash, and the cash simply, this is, you know, the most simplest way to put it, is just not flowing down the tree like it used to. Like throughout the 1970s, you had this concept of the American dream, like everyone was living happily, big middle class, everyone's, oh, this is great, you know, and in all, you know, which made America the biggest sort of, you know, the most influential democracy and capitalist regime on the planet. And then they just stopped paying everyone. Yeah. And now America's hit mass, you know, and it's just to the point where greed, it's a real simple solution, greed and the religion of profit, and that's what I'm doing, and the artificial incentive of making profit rather than doing it because I purely enjoy this and I want to do it.
Well, a situation, like a real life example of that is I visited Portland, Oregon quite a lot for my training.
Sure,
it's on the West Coast.
I heard Oregon's got a few things going on. I heard Oregon's got a few.
It's pretty amazing. It's
an
a power
amazing
place for me. Yeah, it's really nurturing place. There's a lot of like in a meetup.
Sustainability, is in
very conscious, sustainable.
Yeah, that's
farmers markets on most corners, and very aware, consciously, like practicing to be conscious and aware.
Is that where Asheville is?
Responsible.
It's Asheville.
No, it's Tennessee.
Ashland.
Oh, is it Duncan Trussell's from Asheville? Isn't
is
that
it?
way?
I don't know. No, Portland, Oregon.
Asheville?
It's certainly a place to look up. Yeah.
What I was getting to is my dear friend lost her house to the banks in this big downfall in America.
Yeah.
So they weren't willing to negotiate an offer, the bank, and so they took the house away, shut it up, and didn't rent it out.
And no one lives there.
And so there's all these ghost houses appearing in probably America, but in Portland, Oregon. And this is interesting that there's a difficulty in renting places because there's not many for rent. Most people own them.
Yeah.
So it's just ridiculous. The bank's sitting on it. It's rotting slowly.
18.5 million houses repossessed by banks, and 4.5 million homeless people.
So there's like 4 times the amount of empty houses in America.
And they just won't a bit.
That's when you know the system has failed. When you've got more
empty houses.
Has it failed? They want more. You know, what's their intention? Has it failed?
No, that's true.
Well, I mean,
that might have been their intention.
You see these reports. Well, that's the thing. I don't think the system's broken. I don't think the system's broken. I think the system was made this way, and it will continue going this way.
Well, okay. Let's say we've failed in a way to provide for every human being. That's the way we've failed. That's for sure.
Well, what's the next thing?
And isn't the idea of a system that we live in society, whether it be communism, socialism, whatever, is to help live in a place where we can all be happy? Isn't that the point of it? No matter what system you choose, that has to be the point, isn't it?
Well, I think just local economy or being able to sustain ourselves locally would be a start.
Yeah, I think that's going to have to be the
unfortunately, if we do see collapse, that's the way it's going to go. I mean, you're going to have to, people are going to have to stay.
Well, it's going there already, and it's helping, but
seems like it has
there's so, like with the indigenous cultures that I've worked with, the Quero from Peru.
Yeah, right.
The mountain shamans, they came down 60 years ago, I think, around 60 years ago, because they saw the glacial waters melting, and that's for them, the glacial ice is a sign of wisdom. Yeah, and when they saw the glacial ice melting, they realised that the time has come to come down the mountain and spread their wisdom.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So they came down and did that, and then it just went worldwide with certain organisations.
What a beautiful way of looking at it.
And yet what's happening now is that this religion of money seems to be, or the children of those descendants seem to be gravitating towards the bigger cities, getting a job and doing all that, and not continuing the tradition.
They're losing their...
So they've passed it on,
Yeah, you're right.
yet they're not cultivating it, and I wonder how this will pan out with the Aboriginal indigenous culture of this land. How that will play out, and I'm very interested in...
That's a really interesting one, because that's only in 60 years, I mean.
I absolutely love the Aboriginal culture, the philosophies they have with life. That's so nice.
Well, I saw a movie called The Future of Ladakh, and it's in Tibet or Nepal? I think it's on the border of either or. I can't remember what country Ladakh's in.
I don't know.
But it was an ancient culture, and they were having trouble to survive because the big companies would come in and buy the rice from these people, and they'd buy it cheap from them. They'd go into town. They couldn't sell their stuff. It's just as simple as that. It was like,
it's just the same old story all around the world.
Yeah, so it is, and unfortunately, with the current system and how it's set up, it seems with the corporate mentality in the modern world, the bigger the corporation, the worse it is for humanity. With the current monetary structure and the profit structure which they work under, it seems that it is not a benefit to have something bigger and more efficient. It seems to be worse off. It might be good because you might get something a bit cheaper, but to do for the cost of what it costs humanity, the quality of human life, or the quality of the environment, it's an extreme negative on both of those accounts.
That's so true. It's such an interesting trend because it's like we've been getting bigger and everything becomes more globalized, and it's definitely given us amazing things. Like, it's definitely been great on so many levels, being globalized and extending our reach economically around the world and trade and all that, and having bigger corporations has its pluses, but it's definitely, on the same with all the pros. The cons, I think, the reason that it's in the other way that it extends negatively is the disconnection from the people and the task that corporation is actually undertaking. And so in every task that the big corporation has, there isn't a conscious being with a conscience able to make the decisions based on what the company is doing, because the human element is removed from every process the bigger the corporation gets, and that's when you start to get errors, because you've got no one human character judging the good and bad and moral value of the decision. Well,
you do, but then you also get the paradigm of it's my job. You can't blame me. I'm just doing my job. And that's also another big factor that you've got to look at. There's no democracy in the workplace.
No accountability.
There's no accountability or democracy. Like, for interest's sake, with that GFC, we were talking about if the system worked properly, all those CEOs would be in jail, because all the CEOs of those major banks have committed some form of indecent act towards the public through speculating and
what happened with Hitler is just pretty much the best example of that.
Okay.
It's just
if you want to go straight to the source,
which is pretty much what's happening now.
Yeah,
it is
in the religion of money.
Exactly.
Yeah. Once again, remember everything.
We could talk about this for weeks. But I just wanted to say I'm not an expert at this topic either. But what I wanted to say is slipped my mind now. But
No, stay away from
me. Well, it's what's happening now.
No, it certainly is. And the biggest... what I
wanted to allude to. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go for it. No.
So it doesn't slip again.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that all the truth's coming out.
Information, yes.
Just the information age is bringing all the truth out about these systems that are, not corrupt, beneficial for everybody.
Yeah.
Beneficial for one, and that's going to continue. So I think there's a lot of positive stuff happening with people doing startup internet businesses that
Sure.
I've seen that have just made just amazing amount of profit that a huge corporation of 3,000 people are making.
Yeah,
and
right.
they made it with 6 to 10 people in 2 years.
Yeah,
So it's the
opportunities are there.
It's not so dualistic anymore that it's not possible.
Yeah.
Things are starting to shift
Certainly.
that place that I've seen. Yeah.
When I first started learning about sustainability, I didn't have the knowledge base now, but there are big sustainability shifts in the community with socially conscious people, and that's the word of this century, really. That's the word: sustainable energy, sustainable food practices, sustainable in everything. That's a word. That's a word that our kids will know more, and if they don't, then our schooling system's failed and we're doomed, pretty much.
So that's a perfect lead into what a project that I'm working on, which is a startup internet business, to provide sustainability guides to cities.
Right.
So in a contemporary way. So it's live actually since a week.
Sure.
And it's called smartvolta.com.
Smartvolta.com.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a look at it.
So it's basically mapping out in city areas that we want to tap into tourism to actually help tourists navigate Melbourne in a sustainable way. So a no waste cafe, a hotel that's being conscious on how they're, conducting their business.
Are you going to the Sustainability Festival this weekend? Because that sounds like that's be in it.
Yes.
Is it in it?
Yeah. No, I won't be in it. It's too early.
Next year.
So that's something that I'm working on the side with somebody in Germany.
Yeah, right.
Florencia.
That looks good.
And
look it up, people who are listening. Smartvolta.com.
So we would like to create a community of people around the world that can map these spaces out, and you can consciously navigate the city in a more sustainable way.
That's great.
We're not promoting that it's fully sustainable.
Sure.
We're just key areas of art, culture, eating, lifestyle, and spaces where you could go down and just go to the botanical gardens.
Like, for example,
and just come back to nature.
Sure.
The Hearst Tower, the first green skyscraper in Manhattan.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Is that? Do you want me to click on it and read about it, or is it called the Hearst Tower because it's after the Hearst family? Because they were a bit of a ruthless family in America.
I don't know.
I hope not,
Not
because
sure.
I don't think they're anything about being nice. It's the first green high-rise office building completed in New York City, with a number of environmental considerations built into the plan. The floor of the atrium is paved with heat-conductive limestone. Polyethylene tubing is embedded under the floor and filled with circulating water for cooling in the summer and heating in the winter. Rain collected on the roof is stored in a tank in the basement for use in the cooling system, to irrigate plants and for the water sculpture in the main lobby. 85% of the building's structural steel contains recycled material. Overall, the building has been designed to use 26% less energy than the minimum requirements for the City of New York, and earned a gold designation from the United States Green Building Council certification program, becoming New York City's first LEED gold skyscraper.
It's pretty good. Definitely.
Step in the right direction.
It certainly is. It certainly is. But unfortunately, when we look at those sort of things, it's great. Like I said, the technology's out there, the mentality's out there in some people, but the main thing is, especially with climate change, if we don't do something, and I'm in a drastic sense, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's almost like all these types of things. It's sort of just integrating better ideas into the system we've already got. Slightly tweaking the system we already have to make it a little bit better. And it seems to me that's, yes, technological improvements are going to do that. Green technologies are always going to be about making a little bit better over time, but as we try and do that, time is ticking, and every time that ticks, we're sacrificing and compromising some sort of environmental or part of nature, which we'll never get back again, like an extinction of a creature or a 3-degree rise in temperature, which is going to change the world. So it seems it's a constant compromise, I think, unless we do something drastic. Yeah.
I like. Why do we always got to go down?
Well,
these
can you?
Do you always get to that, do you?
No. Some of them every now and then. well, when you start talking, it's
Maybe
hard.
you should focus it on sustainability.
We do.
We do. Oh, we certainly do.
Okay.
Yeah.
But